He always thought it was a choice, a simple calculation of risk and reward, a ledger of freedom versus comfort. But that was the first lie, the one he told himself in the quiet moments before sleep, the one that felt like solid ground until the floor of his own mind gave way. It begins not with a decision, but with a silence. A specific quality of quiet that falls in a room after the wedding of a friend. It's not the silence of contentment or of peace. It is the silence of a man listening to the echo of his own future and hearing, for the first time, a faint, dissonant frequency underneath the familiar melody of his life. He stands there, a glass of champagne in his hand, smiling the correct smile, and inside, a single, cold question forms, pristine and terrifying. Is this the peak? Is this the summit, after which the only direction is down? The question is so quiet, so impeccably polite, that he almost misses it. But it takes root. And roots, in the dark soil of the subconscious, have a way of growing into strangling vines. Consider the man in his late 20s, let's call him the architect. He builds things. A career, a portfolio, a life of curated experiences. He sees a relationship as another thing to build, a beautiful, complex structure. Love is the blueprint. Trust is the foundation. And marriage? Marriage is the final, irrevocable inspection, the moment the city stamps the permit and says, this is it. No more alterations. What stands now must stand forever. The architect looks at the blueprint of his life and he sees, with chilling clarity, that the foundation he's been pouring is not on bedrock, but on sand. The sand of a culture that celebrates the temporary, that worships the upgrade, that has made a sacrament of the escape clause. To commit is to build a cathedral in an earthquake zone, knowing the tremors are not a matter of if, but when. The terror is not in the building, but in the permanence. It is the terror of becoming a relic in his own museum. Then there is the ghost in the machine, the digital phantom that haunts every modern courtship. It is the ghost of perpetual option. He sits with a woman he loves, or thinks he loves, and his thumb, almost of its own volition, traces the cool glass of his phone. Behind that screen is a universe of other faces, other lives, other possibilities that have not yet been disappointed in him. It is a low-grade psychic hum, a constant, subliminal whisper that says, you have not yet optimized. The perfect fit, the one who will demand nothing and give everything, is just one more swipe away. This is not about promiscuity. This is about a fundamental rewiring of expectation. He is not running from one woman, he is running from the finality of a single choice in a world that has told him infinity is his birthright. The choice of one woman becomes the negation of all others, and that negation feels like a death, the death of the man he might have been. He starts to notice the artifacts. The subtle flinch of a married friend's eye when he talks about a boys' trip. The way another speaks of his wife not with passion, but with the weary, managed tolerance of a zookeeper for a dangerous and unpredictable animal. These are not grand betrayals or dramatic fights. They are the small, cumulative leaks in the hull of a ship he is being asked to board. He hears the stories, not of infidelity, but of quiet annexation. The man who loved vintage motorcycles now has a garage full of potting soil and children's bicycles. The man who traveled on one now plans vacations a year in advance around school schedules. It is presented as evolution, as maturity. But to him, it looks like a slow, ceremonial dismemberment. It is the death of the individual, sacrificed on the altar of the unit. And what of the unit itself? He looks at the contract, the actual, spiritual contract of marriage, and he sees a rigged game. The stakes have been inverted. In the old stories, the man was the hunter, the provider. His value was tied to his utility. Now, his utility is a given, but his value is conditional, perpetually under review by a court of emotional appeal. He is told to be vulnerable, to be open, to communicate. But he has seen what happens to the men who do. He has seen their vulnerabilities used as ammunition in later disputes, their fears cataloged and weaponized. He is being asked to lay down his armor in the middle of a war he never agreed to fight. The rules of engagement are written in a language he doesn't speak, a language of emotional nuance and unspoken expectations where he is, by design, always the foreigner, always the one at fault. There is a specific, chilling moment that visits every man on this precipice. It is the moment he witnesses the transaction. He is at a dinner party. A married couple, seemingly happy, is discussing a vacation. The wife wants to go to Italy. The husband mentions, lightly, a fishing trip he had dreamed of with his friends. What follows is not an argument. It is a silent, brutal negotiation conducted entirely in micro-expressions. A tightening around her eyes. A slight, almost imperceptible tilt of her head. A long, slow sip of wine. And he watches the husband fold. Not in anger, but in resignation. He watches the light of a personal desire extinguished in the other man's eyes, replaced by the placid glow of spousal approval. It is a tiny surrender, so small it seems insignificant. But to the man watching, it is a premonition. It is a vision of 10,000 such surrenders, stretching out into a gray, featureless future until the man he was is entirely erased, replaced by a pleasant, compliant ghost. This is the core of the dread. It is not a fear of women. It is a fear of dissolution. A fear of becoming a supporting character in someone else's story. His name on the mortgage, his DNA in the children, but his essence, his primal, singular drive, slowly negotiated away in a series of quiet compromises until nothing of the original remains. He looks at the path laid out for him, the engagement, the wedding, the joint bank accounts, the suburban home, the minivan, and he does not see a victory march. He sees a well-paved road leading to a very comfortable, very beautiful prison. The final terror, the one that keeps him awake at 3 a.m., is the realization that he is utterly alone in his calculation. To speak of it aloud is to be branded a misogynist, a commitment phobe, a boy in a man's body. So he remains silent. He constructs a fortress of plausible excuses. I'm not financially ready. I want to focus on my career. I just haven't met the right one. These are not lies, exactly. They are shields, protecting the raw, unspeakable truth he carries inside, that he believes, in his deepest being, that the contract of modern marriage is, for him, a net loss. It is a sacrifice of sovereignty with no guaranteed return on investment except the mitigation of loneliness. And in a world of immersive digital worlds, global travel, and tribes of like-minded men, loneliness is a problem with many solutions that do not require the surrender of his entire kingdom. So he remains in the lobby of life, a permanent guest at the wedding of others. He dates. He loves, even. But he holds a part of himself back, a final, sacred redoubt that he will not, cannot, surrender. He is the ghost at the feast of his own potential, watching the parade of his married friends, hearing their tales of domestic bliss and simmering resentment, and he wonders if he is the crazy one, or if he is the only one who can see the invisible bars on the gilded cage. He is not against love. He is terrified of the paperwork. He is waiting for a sign, a new blueprint, a contract that doesn't feel like a slow-motion suicide. And as he waits, the silence grows louder until it is the only thing he can hear, the deafening sound of a generation of men, quietly, politely, opting out of the greatest gamble of all.